Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for the World Championship, the FIDE World Women's Championship, being contested by Ju Wenjun and Tan Zhongyi. The match is taking place in China, and it's been split in two. So it's best of 12, but 6 games will be in Ju Wenjun's home area, the first 6 games, and the second 6 games will be in Tan Zhongyi's home area. So it's best of 12, and today was a really good game. Apologies for that slight hiccup with the board. So, Ju Wenjun got the white pieces. Now, overall game strategy, you would like black first, so that probably goes to Tan Zhongyi. Reason being is because in the final round, you have white. So if you need to press in the final round, you can. If you need to kill the game, you can. It's best to have white in the final round. So Ju Wenjun getting white already gives a disadvantage to the champion. But she's a champion for a reason. She's looking to become 5-time women's champion. Interestingly enough, Ju Wenjun was the one who dethroned Tan Zhongyi when she won the belt, when she won the title, not the belt. This isn't wrestling or boxing. Tan Zhongyi was the champion in 2018. So, Ju Wenjun, a perennial D4 player, starts the match with 1 E4. And what we get is a Sicilian. I was so excited because I was like, I get to plug all of my videos. Knight to F3, E6. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to plug all my videos. D4, takes, knight here. And then Ju Wenjun went here. I was like, I can't plug any of my videos. You can still go watch them, How to Play the Sicilian by Maverick Chess. But I've never seen this before. Like, I've watched a lot of chess games. I've played a lot of chess games. I've never seen Bishop D3. It is the second most popular move, but most people here just play, Knight to C3. So, Ju Wenjun is really testing Tan Zhongyi in her Sicilians. The knight comes out. The only real choice you have here is to take and take. And then we get the bishop coming out to F4. D5, very solid move, putting a pawn in the center of the board. Knight to D2 and G6. G6 does allow bishop to G5. And here you've got to be careful because you can't, typically G6 is followed by bishop to G7. You can't play bishop to G7 here because you lose the knight. That's just a pin. And the knight is lost. You can see the eval bar shooting up. So instead, you are forced to either kick out the bishop or to break the pin. But breaking the pin immediately allows the bishop to go here. So yes, it is 3 bishop moves, but now black can't castle long ways. I suppose the knight could try and jump out there, but that's not possible at the moment. So we kick out the bishop, it drops back. Now we break the pin, short castles, and here a very good move, A5. Taking space on the queen side and potentially allowing the bishop to go out that way. Queen to D2. So far, the players haven't used an extortionate amount of time. They have thought after A5, so Queen E2 was thought about for a bit, as was short castles, but not long periods of time, really. Rook AD1. And here, Knight D7 is played. And here, Ju Wenjun really does take her first long think. Tan Zhongyi also took some time to consider this move. Reason being is because you've got to consider what happens after you trade, because the knight is coming this way. And you've got to consider the repercussions of C4 and F4. Taking is beneficial because if you jump back, the queen is jumping on this diagonal, so disallowing F4 because they target this pawn as well, and really just targeting stuff in the center. And the knight is always coming to one of these 2 squares, which is really helpful. So you've really got to be considerate here. So Ju Wenjun takes her time, takes the bishop. We get takes. And here she goes for C4, which the computer gives as an inaccuracy. But we look at its preferred choice. It says just slide a rook over, play knight to F3, or play H3. I don't understand H3. It's a waiting move. The other 2 moves I can kind of see you really developing pieces. Knight to F3 disallows the knight from going to that square. I realize highlighting it doesn't really do much because the board is red because we're in the events page. So all those I kind of understand. I don't understand H3, but it's the... So C4 is what she plays. All of that aside, C4, what she plays. Now we get the knight jumping into the center. It hits the bishop. We get takes, takes. And here, CD5. And here you think, I can win a pawn. You can. Yes, 100% you can win the pawn, but it's not worth it. Because the bishop hits the queen and really pokes at the king. And here, queen to b3. But here, there's rook, not this rook, rook fe8, rook fe8, sorry, my arrows, reinforcing the queen. But there's also like a4. And now the queen's got to go, and you've got to go to queen to g3. And this is not as good, because this is very weak. You are up a pawn, but it's not worth it, is basically what I'll summarize this as. So we reload the position. So we get takes, and we slide the queen over. So allowing the pawns to still exist, you don't try and be greedy and take the extra pawn. And here, queen to g5. Oh, queen to g5. I don't know why that happened. And the queens are offered for an exchange. And the only real way to avoid a queen exchange is to play queen here, because you keep control of these diagonals. The knight can come in and try and target them, and then you can always push the pawn forward. But that's really pushing it. The best move is to trade the queens. And here, it's really difficult. So we're in an endgame. Now, do not let the fact that this is an endgame deceive you. This still comes with lots of practical difficulties. Because if you trade immediately, like this, black's pawn structure is kind of ruined. I'm highlighting pawns, I don't know if you can all see them, but yeah. So these pawns that you want to try and move are really delicate. I suppose this kind of does form part of this blob. Maybe I should just, yeah, I can highlight them in different colors. I forgot I can do that. So white's pawn structure is all really good. Oh, wrong button there. White's pawn structure is considerably better. So after that exchange, we play rook fe1, and the rook comes in. But as I was saying earlier, black's going to be just in time. Like, these players have played so exquisitely. So we force this, pawn comes out, the knight retreats because it's going to look to reroute to one of these two squares. And here, an exceptional move from Tan Zhongyi, a4. And here you can't really blame what Ju Wenjun does, because everything you calculate here is dreadful. I was sitting here watching from this position before I left, and it was just dreadful to calculate. Because what you can consider is you can take this pawn, it's free, but we're going to get trade, and rook here. And this very much is a draw. Okay, what about a4, ba4? Then we get rook b4, takes, then rook d2, defending the pawn, the bishop comes out, can develop the knight to g3, or I suppose knight here is fine, but then this pawn falls, and we trade the rooks. You can try and target the bishop goes back, and you really don't have much. It's a draw. It's really a draw. Everything was looking like this. So it's not pleasant. So Ju Wenjun decides to take the pawn. The rook comes in, but she plays a move that I hadn't looked at, and I didn't see the commentators looking at. She plays a5, which I thought was very good. Very interesting move, not allowing the rook to take right away. The rook now goes here. She does spend a little bit more time here now as well, but she takes the pawn. She is down on time, but in this position, it's not that bad, and they're going to get another 30 minutes after move 40. This is move 26. So maybe a little bit pressed for time. Tan Zhongyi definitely has the advantage on the clock, but this position, you would have to play a series of poor moves to really lose this. Like, they are too good really to lose this. So we do see that pawn fall on a2. The knight does jump out. The rooks double. We get the knight jumping in there. We trade the rooks. We drop the knight back. You might think, but what about this? Isn't this a fork? No, because the bishop's hanging. Duh. So, no fork. Don't hang your knights. So the knight targets the bishop, and here, a very nice move. Takes. You would have to be pretty bad, a GM, to not draw this endgame. Like, this endgame is a draw. And they try. I think they get to move 40. I don't know if you're allowed to draw offers before move 40, but they repeat moves, make it 38, and for game 1 of the 2025 Women's World Championship ends in a draw. High accuracy, really good from both of these players. No one really took risk, I would say. Even Ju Wenjun, she didn't play. I think Judith Polgar said it was like delicate but not dangerous, or not dangerous but interesting. Like, it was an interesting opening. She tested Tan Zhongyi. Tan Zhongyi passed with the flying colors. Like, this was a draw, really well handled by Tan Zhongyi. Up on time, Ju Wenjun had no threat with the white pieces. So we'll see if she plays e4 again, if Tan Zhongyi is going to continue to respond with the Sicilian. But there are other ways to make the Sicilian more interesting if you want a more dynamic game. But maybe that's what Ju Wenjun wants to avoid. So we'll see if game 3, when she has the white pieces again, she goes back to d4, which she knows quite well. And we're going to see tomorrow what Tan Zhongyi has with the white pieces. So that will be looking very, very interesting. Yeah, there's not much else to say. Format best of 12, time control 90 minutes, as you would have seen on the clocks, plus 30 seconds from move 1, and they get an extra 30 minutes when and if they make it to move 40. Best of 12. They're playing in 2 cities, which is really cool. I thought that was a really cool idea, considering they're both Chinese players. Like, all of the top women's players are Chinese players. It was incredible. Yeah, 25-55, 25-61. 2 very strong players. Very good game today. But we'll see. This match will get more interesting, I'm sure. But today, quite a peaceful result in the end.